Hello, friends, anti-novelists, curious onlookers, and Lilligans. That you just witnessed was the awesome sound of this chapter printing out 8 beautiful pages of chapter goodness for you. This is all of the chapter on creating your very own Zettelkasten. So this is how you set up your own note box with your note cards, and then just a quick overview at how you go about your numbering, just from a high level, different components of your sections and what those might look like. I give you some examples from my box. I give you a few side notes, take you on a little side trip of fun. I will be inserting photos so that you've got references for what these things look like in practice. And then I do a little bit more of a deep dive into the 3 key kinds of cards. So there you have it. Then the next thing I did, this is the entire book. Dun, 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 all printed out in chapter by chapter form. So today I did a pretty deep cut in the chapters. I ended up completely rearranging them, so now they flow in a way that I believe will make more sense. So here's what we've got. We've got part 1, which is setting up your system. That hasn't changed. That's the big chapter that I just printed out to start proofing with my critique partners. Then I've got part 2, which is an introduction to character development, where we talk specifically about that. I've got part 3, which is drafting your team. That's where I go deep into each kind of character and discuss those character types. Part 4, foundations of the novel. This has been completely reordered because now you've got just the actual parts of the novel and the fundamentals of fiction. So that's going to give you a high level look at what goes into a good piece of creative fiction. And I'll discuss some of the trends, some of what the prevailing theories are and how they've evolved, because I want you to have a really good understanding of story architecture by the time you get done with this Foundations of the Novel chapter. Because then we're going to go into exploring story structure. This again has gotten a pretty significant workover today because we're going to look at very dialed in kinds of story structure. So like, for example, we're going to talk about conflict narratives and what those look like and who pioneered them, nonlinear methods of structuring a story, script writing derivatives, which if you know me at all, you know that is my pet peeve, but we got to go there because it is so prevalent in the standard Western conflict driven narrative. That's where we're going to begin. Because I just, between conflict narrative and script writing, I think that's how we're wired. So we'll start there and then we'll start dialing down into other options. You have to know the rules in order to break them. So that's the way we're going to go. Then all the way down into the tools, which include the conflict matrix, Pulte's 36 dramatic situations, which I talked about in a previous video, theme, and then doctoring the novel, what you do when things go wrong in your writing. And then, of course, part 5, the infamous part 5, is the introduction to world story structure. We're going to look at stories from all around the world. So far, this is my favorite part because the tool that I'm going to give you is going to allow you to take highlighted versions of the stories that we're going to discuss in the book, and you're going to create your own set of cheat cards for your Zettelkasten, which will give you a ready-made set of tools that you can use to apply to your own story structures. That, I think, is going to be awesome. And then, of course, the remaining parts on using the Sprackling character traits, research-driven writing, and the editing process. And then I've appended the world building and the book Bible sections. So that's where we are today. Today's chapter worked out to be 3,817 words. I think I'm currently sitting back at about 22,000, just a little over 22,000 words. So that is coming along terrific. So my last task of the day is to dive into this Part 1, Chapter 1, setting up your Zettelkasten, get this to my critique partners for editing, and then keep on rolling down the list of getting this into the order that it needs to be in and fleshing out the chapters so that you have a really beefy, robust tool to harness to get your writing done. So that does it for today's Sunday update. Thank you so much for all of my new subscribers. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm so grateful that you're here with me on this journey. I am still very much on track to finish this book by September 21st. That gives me exactly 1 month to finish, and I do believe if I keep writing at a good clip every single day that I will meet that deadline. Many of you who know me from my other videos and interviews know that every year we treat ourselves to at least one long trip. We went canoeing in the Boundary Waters of Canada back in July, but now we are going to head up to Wyoming in October, the first week of October, so I will be there for 10 days. So with that, I will have a good chunk of time to do any final edits, do a good all the way through developmental edit and get finished up. So I will leave you on this fine Sunday. Again, thank you. I appreciate your time, and I will see you tomorrow.